Hello everybody. How are you all doing out there? I hope this video is finding you well. Welcome or welcome back to Get Right On In. My name is Andrew, for those of you who do not know, and today I'm going to go over another little book to movie comparison for The Last Unicorn. This is number 2 of 3 for 80s book to movie comparisons that I'll be doing here on this channel. I just did my Neverending story book to movie comparison last month, so I'll have that linked in the description box and probably up in the cards and whatever what have you as well. This video was actually originally requested by Miss Johanna, and I am doing this video alongside of Jessi from the Bookish Mom, who is also publishing hers today. I will link her video and those ladies' channels down in the description box, because if you do not know them, now you know them, so go be their friends. I am not going to waste too much more time here on the introduction, so without further ado, let's get right on in. Okay, so for those of you who just might not know or haven't figured it out by a minute into this video already, The Last Unicorn was a book written by one Peter S. Beagle. To go over a spoiler-free section of the plot, we have a unicorn who is the last of her kind. Throughout this story, she is on her little search for both acceptance and identity. Along the way, she meets a bunch of people, including the magician Schmendrick. So we follow along as the unicorn, who is later on named Amalthea, goes on her little search for her unicorn friends. They have been driven out into the ocean by this red bull who acts on the orders of King Haggard. So for whatever reason, King Haggard has ordered for the destruction of all unicorns pretty much. So Amalthea, Schmendrick, and another woman that they find named Molly Grew must find out a way to defeat the red bull, overthrow King Haggard, and restore the unicorns to their former glory. So now on to some spoilers, so if you have not seen or read the book and you don't want to know anything else, probably gonna be a good time for you to bounce, but I'd love it if you came back to hear the rest of my thoughts if you go read this or watch the movie. Honestly, if it wasn't for nostalgia purposes, I probably would not like the movie at all anymore, and the book was also just kind of like meh to me. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that I prefer character-driven works over plot-driven, and both book and movie for The Last Unicorn for me came off way too plot-heavy, and especially considering what was going on with Amalthea, I was kind of a little bummed out because I wish that we had some more characterization here. Especially when we consider that the main, like, underlying theme of this whole thing is a search for identity, which is, I think, something that a lot of people can relate to. I really enjoyed that theme of identity explored throughout this book. I just wish that it would have been given a little bit more time and attention in regard specifically to the characterization of the unicorn. One thing that I think might have been fun to further examine was an idea of the fact that men could not see her as she was, and it was playing on this whole idea of seeing what you want to see instead of seeing what's actually right in front of you. We do see in both book and movie that the men are unable to see the unicorn as she is. They are only able to see her and all other unicorns as horses. And this, for me, just adds on to that sense of the search of identity, because it is relatable to feel like you are the last of or the only of your kind, and I think that it's important, and something that this book is trying to emphasize, is that it's always good to just be who you are and to remember that you are already unique, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. We are all beautiful unicorns, according to Peter S. Beagle. One thing that I also stated in the book that I think really helps with this theme of identity is this whole idea of just because someone can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. So obviously, in particular with this unicorn, that would be referencing the horn that comes on her forehead, that just because other people can't see her for a unicorn, other people think that she's a horse or a mare or whatever, doesn't mean that she is any less of a unicorn in actuality. As to the story itself, from the book to the movie, the story pretty much was the same. The movie actually did a pretty good job following along. It was basically like page by page, chapter by chapter. Very little was cut out. In fact, a lot of the dialogue in the movie was pretty much direct quotes from the book, because the book has a lot of just like exponential extraneous information that's not necessarily always like necessary. It's mostly just like descriptions and summaries of what is going on, which is what makes me feel like it's plot based instead of character based, because it's just like one event to the next. But what the movie did not do well at all was the music. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's the thing. The music in the movie is atrocious. Watching it again right now recently as an adult sincerely made me feel like it was like a screaming banshee just like putting her nails down that chalkboard, and it was so obnoxious and annoying. And I'm pretty sure that Jessi agrees with me on this because we've talked a little bit about the music. I'm super excited to see her full thoughts on all of this, but oh my gosh, that music was horrible. But the thing is that it doesn't bother me as much about the fact that the music was bad as much as it does about the fact that there is a lot of music in the book. There's a lot of poems, there's a lot of songs, there's a lot of whatever, and none of those are in the movie. So I just feel like if you are going to be putting out this horrendously awful music, why didn't you at least try to use the lyrics and the music and the whatever that was going on in the book? Because that might have been a lot better than the crap that you gave us in the end. I might not ever watch this movie again specifically because the music was that bad. 100% honest, 0 out of 10 for the music. So that rant is done, and I will leave that in the dust and just say that apart from the lack of characterization that I felt was going on in this book, I like the plot itself. You know, I like the events that happen, I like the story itself, and I like what actually occurs in the book. I just think that even like a simple 100 more pages would have added so much, because it's not even 300 pages as it is, and it's a really super easy read that, I mean, it does not take very long at all. So a little bit more embellishment really probably would have added a lot to this book. Why does King Haggard really hate these unicorns that much in the first place? Where did that Red Bull even come from? What was Amalthea's life like when she was with all of the other unicorns? Little things like that that could have probably just had a little bit more time spent on them and would have added a lot more to the story, in my opinion. I also wish that we had a little bit more time with Amalthea when she was a human, because Schmendrick the magician turns her into a human kind of on accident about halfway through, and then it turns into some sort of like Little Mermaid-esque love story between Amalthea and Prince Lear, who is obviously the son of King Haggard, who wants Amalthea dead, but he doesn't know that Amalthea is a unicorn until later on, and then that all becomes like the major climax of the book. But to stick with the themes of identity going through that, the longer Amalthea remains a human, the more she forgets her own identity and who/what she was before. I like the idea of losing yourself in that matter, because I think that it just drives home the importance of always just remembering who you are and being true to yourself, especially in regard to the love story going on between herself and Prince Lear. I think it's just one of those underlying themes that's reminding you that even in love, you should never forget your own identity or your own self. So the theme of identity is definitely, for me at least, the main one going through this book. Even Schmendrick the magician talks a lot about it as we go through, and I like his little reminder that the truth always prevails, no matter how many illusions one may put over it. Okay, but let's talk about some of the weird stuff that's going on, and that's probably going to be mostly from the movie and not the book, so I'm just going to put the book down for a minute here. The harpy. So here's the thing. There's a section of the book and the movie where the unicorn is captured by Mommy Fortuna, and then she becomes part of this like traveling circus freak show type thing or whatever, and that's where she meets Schmendrick. Mommy Fortuna has put on all of these illusions onto all of these creatures that she has. So like a snake looks like a dragon, a lion looks like a sphinx, etc. And the unicorn and the harpy are the only two actual magical creatures that Mommy Fortuna has. And all I'm saying with the harpy in the movie is, are those necessary like that? Cause I'm all for free the nipple, but as a child, as an adult, going through this movie right now, or this video and everything, like, that necessary on the harpy? Really all I have to say there. Because that is one of the two situations that make me feel just a little bit like, and the second one is when Schmendrick gets tied up to the tree and then she just like puts him in her bosom and just is shaking him and she loves him just so much. And the tree loves Schmendrick in the book, but we don't get those kind of details of basically just having him in her boobies while she's shaking him like this. So there was just some weird stuff like that in the movie that I was just very confused about, especially because it's a movie for kids. And then, I mean, we have that skeleton guy who's obsessed with the wine, whatever. So there's some weird stuff going on in the book and the movie, but the weird stuff is weirder in the movie than it was in the book. And it was just some weird stuff, and I felt like I just needed to address that to the world, but there's not some necessity for some of the weirdness in that movie. Overall, I think I'd probably rate the movie at like a 6 out of 10 these days. Definitely like moved down because of that horrendous music, and I don't even know if I will ever watch this movie again because of that. The book, I give like a 3.5, 3.75-ish, but honestly, both of those ratings are mostly just for nostalgia purposes. If I had no idea about this until December when I just picked up this book for the readathon with Jessi, I probably would have DNF'd both the book and the movie because, I don't know, it was just different, I guess, having grown up with it versus coming into it as a 32-year-old. But I would say that if you have seen the movie and you would like to read the book, it's definitely worth it because it's not gonna change your opinion too much, I don't think. But if you have not seen the movie or read the book, I would just say you don't really have to. But if you have kids or you want to have kids, then I definitely feel like it would be a good like family kind of movie book to read to your child. I don't know, as an adult, maybe not so much. I most certainly do not agree with Mr. Patrick Rothfuss here on the cover, who says The Last Unicorn is the best book I have ever read. You need to read it. If you've already read it, you need to read it again. I would say that more about your works than this one, Mr. Rothfuss. Just to put that out there. Anyway, so that should be it for me today on my little book to movie comparison of The Last Unicorn. I've got Jessi's video linked down there in that description box. I know I'm super excited to see what she has to say out of all of this because we have talked a little bit, but we've kept most of our thoughts to ourselves for these videos. Have you ever seen the movie or read the book? Do you have any interest in either? What are your thoughts if you have seen or read? Because I would love to hear all about those down in the comments. So let me know what you think. While you're down there, if you liked this video, I would love it if you gave it a little thumbs up, as well as maybe even considering pressing on that little subscribe button and then joining me on Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes on Sundays for bookish and writerly and entertainment-y-esque content just like this. In the meantime, I hope you have a day just as beautiful as you, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!